Good morning. Welcome to another Wednesday morning sesh on my Facebook page. So this is something I try to do every Wednesday. I don't always manage it, but recently I think I'm getting a bit better. I'm here today to chat to you about audience growth. So audience growth, it's a weird thing actually. It seems to be one of those people either spend all their time kind of focusing on to the exclusion of everything else, even selling. We get so kind of focused on the numbers, what essentially are vanity numbers to a certain extent, that we kind of forget everything else. How do I get those numbers up? How do I get those numbers up? And the other end of the scale is where we are so focused on our kind of core audience, perhaps our Facebook group, our email list, that we forget that at some point we need to be kind of bringing new people in, because otherwise eventually our leads are going to dry up if we're never kind of bringing new people into our world. So audience growth is really important. It should be a part of your marketing strategy. There should always be activities that you are doing as part of your marketing that are going to bring new people into your audience. If you're in my group, I actually did another live yesterday maybe on a similar subject where I talked about the 3 jobs that your marketing should be doing. And the first of those jobs is audience growth, because essentially what your marketing is doing is kind of taking people on a journey where the starting point is they don't know you exist yet, and the end point, of course, is them becoming a client. And so the very first thing you need to do to get them started on that journey is to help them know that you exist. And that essentially is audience growth. And if we're not doing stuff to grow our audience, as I say, our leads and our sales and everything else at the other end of that journey is gonna dry up pretty quickly. So let's talk audience growth. So there are tons and tons of ways you can do this. So I'm just sharing 3 of my faves. So the first one I wanted to share, before I dive in, I should probably introduce myself. I always forget this part, but especially on my page, I think it's important to introduce myself. You may be new here, you may not have seen any of my other videos before. So yeah, before I dive in, I am Colette Broomhead. I'm a business coach. I work with mums who have service-based businesses. So basically anyone who works with clients, and I help you to get more of them. But more importantly, I help you to create marketing and sales that feel good. I am all about values-led marketing, running a values-led business. I'm all about keeping things simple and light, focusing on our strengths, focusing on the activities that we enjoy, that light us up, that feel fun. Because after all, we have built our businesses to kind of get away from the kind of heavy, mundane, crappy stuff that you get in corporate. So that's a little bit about me. Let's dive into the good stuff. So number 1 tip for audience growth is guest content. Now, when I say guest content, there are 3 key types of guest content that I'm talking about here. The first one is guest blogging. Perhaps the best known, maybe not so much these days, but guest blogging. So this is where you are creating a blog post for someone else's blog. And the reason that this is helpful is because it is putting your content in front of an entirely new audience. The person whose blog it is going to hopefully promote that post for you to their audience. And so it's going to get you new eyes on you, on your content, on your business. Also, one of the benefits of guest blogging is that it can be a slow burner, because blog posts are well written, and SEO'd blog post is gonna continue to get views, hopefully for months, maybe years after you've created it. So actually that can be a really good long-term way to add new people to your audience. The second type of guest content that I wanted to chat about is being a guest on someone's podcast. So podcasts are huge right now. Everyone's got a podcast, and everyone's listening to podcasts. So if you can find some relevant podcasts, where the audience is the same or similar to yours, then that is another really great opportunity for you to put yourself in front of someone else's audience and bring new people into your own world. And the good thing with any type of content, guest content, is that generally speaking, you will be given the opportunity to promote your business. If it's a guest blog post, usually you will have a bio where you can share at least one link. So you could link back to your website, you could link back to your freebie if you have, if you're building your email list, you could link back to your Facebook group if you're building that. So there are tons of opportunities there to bring people back to your own audience. If you're doing if you're being a guest on someone's podcast, then again, quite often they'll create a bio for you. They'll ask you if you want to share a link. And so the same is true there. By the way, my husband and my sons are telling me that this looks like I'm drinking out of a vase. And I have a whole box of these things because I bought a ton of them. Sidetrack here. For my youngest son's baptism, we had a big kind of do in the garden, and I thought it would be fun to have these, and people could go. I had a big kind of vat of like alcoholic cocktail and non-alcoholic cocktail, and I thought people could go and fill up, have their own mug, and they can just go and get refills and so on. But since then, I have also used them as vases. But now every time I drink out of one, I'm told that I'm drinking out of a vase. Anyway, I digress. The third type of guest content is guest lives. So doing a guest Facebook Live in someone's Facebook group or on their page as well, could be a thing. Mainly this happens inside people's Facebook groups. This is my fave, because it tends to be easier to organise. It tends to be slightly lower key than, say, for example, being a guest on someone's podcast. And so you can get quite a few of these, if you're proactive about it. You can get quite a few of these booked in, on a regular basis. And if you are doing guest lives in a group that is big, that's active, that's engaged, you can bring back a lot of people to your audience if you have, delivered valuable content for them. So that's another great one. So that is tip number one. If you are not already doing any kind of guest content, I absolutely recommend that you give it a go. One of the huge plus points of guest content is its fast acting, especially the podcast and the guest live, because it will bring people into your audience, almost immediately, especially something like a guest live. You could have people kind of going and checking you out, joining your group, while you're still speaking. So if you're looking for some quick results, if you're looking to get some momentum, give some oomph to your audience growth, then guest content and building that into your regular strategy works really, really well. Plus, it's great because it's building, business connections as well. You then have lots of connections who, if ever you're looking to have guest content, may want to come and do guest content for you. I always think, if we can build those types of relationships with other business owners, that's, that can only help all of us. So my second tip for audience growth is networking. Now, when I say networking, or when anyone says networking, I think the first thing we immediately think of is this kind of in-person, networking meetings, which for me, and possibly for many other introverts out there, is my idea of hell. I am not a fan of small talk. I'm not a fan of being in a room with loads and loads of other people, all kind of mingling, and small talk. That is not my happy place. But the good news is, for many people, that will be amazing. People, especially if you're an extrovert, you're going to get energy from that. It's going to feel great. And that can be a really, really good way for you to go and build your audience. Get in there, mingle, chat to people, make connections. Amazing. If it's not your idea of fun, there are many, many other ways that you can network. And I do pretty much all of my networking online, and mostly in Facebook groups again. So, I pick maybe three or four Facebook groups that I feel I enjoy hanging out in that have a similar audience to mine, and where I can make genuine connections. So there's a couple of like massive like red flashing light words of warning when it comes to networking, especially in somewhere like a Facebook group, because we've all seen this done not so well. So I'm talking about things like dropping links, spamming other people's groups with the not so well hidden self promotion. The things like, hey, can anyone check out my sales page and let me know what you think? We don't fall for it. Don't do that. But there are plenty of really, really genuine ways that you can connect and network in other people's Facebook groups. For me, it's about not going in and like looking for ways to tell people about my business. It's about going in and connecting with people who I know are my ideal clients. So it's about going in and having genuine conversations, answering questions that I can help with, asking questions, and those types of genuine connections, genuine conversations make a massive difference. You don't have to go into these groups and kind of spam yourself and just come across as a bit sleazy. So that is tip number 2. So we've got guest content number 1, networking number 2. My third, I couldn't not include this because it's probably your core way of growing your audience, and that is of course your own content. Hey, to those of you watching it live, do me a massive favour if you wouldn't mind and give me a like or a comment, because it really helps to push this out to other people. So I would be very, very grateful. Plus it's nice to see people saying hello. So yes, let's talk about your content. So at the start, I talked about the fact that your marketing has different jobs to get people, going on this journey from where they don't know that you exist to where they're ready to become a client. The same is true for your content, of course, because your content and your marketing are intrinsically linked. So you need to make sure when you are planning out your content creation that you are creating some content that is specifically designed to attract new people, and that is going to allow you to do that. So let me talk to you a little bit about these kind of 3 stages, because I think it's going to be helpful for you to kind of get that in your mind and sort of see that picture. So the first step that we've talked about here, that this whole session is about, is audience growth. So the type of content that is going to grow your audience, and it sounds obvious when I say it, is the type of content that can be seen by anyone. So we're not talking here about content that's in your Facebook group, because if you have a private group, only people who are already part of that group, who are already in your audience, are going to see that content. We're not talking here about email content, because same applies. Only people who have already subscribed to your list, they're already in your audience, are going to see that content. So we're talking here about the content that is out there. I sometimes talk about it as sort of connection points. This is where people are going to discover you. It's where they're going to first find you. So this could be your own blog. If you do your own blog, this is a great way for people to discover you. Maybe you do a blog that helps. So for example, for me, I might write, or in fact have written, a blog post that's going to help people get more subscribers for their email list, because I know that's something that my ideal clients are looking for help with, right? So I write that blog post, and someone out there searching for help on how to build their email list finds it. They Google how to build my email list, and they find bringing new people to your audience like months and years after you've created it. So when it comes to audience growth content, there are really 2 types. In fact, any really audience growth strategies, there are 2 types. There are strategies that aren't going to do much right now, but are going to continue to bring new people in long term. And a blog is one of those strategies. It can feel super frustrating when you first start blogging, and it's a lot of work. You've got to, plan out your posts, you've got to write them, you've got to perhaps research them, create your graphics, maybe do your SEO. It's a lot of work to get a blog post out there, right? And it can feel very unrewarding because initially you're not going to get any kind of immediate bang for your buck. You might get a few views and so on, but until that blog has kind of it's become more established, is now sort of higher up on search, it's not really going to do much. But years down the line, it could be still bringing people in, and it could be bringing more people in than the day, well, it probably will be bringing more people in than the day you first published it. Not only that, but you can, you promote it when you first publish it, but you can continue promoting that, as long as it's there. You can update it if necessary, but that piece of content is going to continue giving you value as long as you want it to. So a blog is a really, really valuable way to grow your audience. It is a long-term way. It's a slow burner, a long-term audience growth strategy. So that's really useful to build into your business, because long-term, what you want is for you to be able to grow your audience as passively as possible. And a blog is going to let you do that. You're going to do the work now, but long term, it's going to passively bring new people into your audience. Now, you don't just want long-term strategies though, because that's going to feel really frustrating. It's going to feel really slow. It's going to feel really demotivating. So you also want some short-term strategies that are going to get you some people right now. They may not be doing much, years, months to come, but they're going to give you some momentum right now. So these are things like social media. A social media post can give you new people straight away. If you do a Facebook Live like this on your page, you could potentially be reaching new people right then and there. But a Facebook Live is going to be gone down people's feeds, and unless it sort of goes viral and blows up for a week or two, most social media posts are going to have disappeared down people's feeds, within sometimes hours, certainly within days. So it's a quick acting but short lasting strategy. But it's good to have those strategies in as well, because you want those kind of quick results too. So when you're thinking about your content and the strategies that you're going to use to grow your audience, think about that long term and that short term, and try and have a mix. My last advice when it comes to any of these strategies, but especially your content, is to keep it simple. The temptation, again, especially with something like audience growth, where we kind of want to get as big as possible, as quickly as possible, is to try and do everything. The more places I am, the quicker I'll grow my audience, right? So I need to be on YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of these things. The problem with that is it's incredibly difficult to maintain, especially if it's just you right now. If you've got a team of people creating content for you, amazing, go for it. But if it's just you, that is going to be incredibly difficult to maintain, and you're probably just going to end up feeling totally overwhelmed and like you're not getting anywhere. Instead, I definitely recommend picking one social media channel. Let's face it, there are enough people on Facebook to fill whatever programs that you have to fill. There are enough people on Instagram to fill whatever programs you want to fill. So while it's just you, while you are, growing your business, focus on a few core strategies and really go all in on those. So for example, you might say, okay, my audience growth strategies are, I'm going to write a weekly blog post. Okay, that's my long-term strategy. That's going to really pay off. That's going to keep, the sort of steady, slow burn of people coming in. I'm going to have a Facebook page, and I'm going to create, 3 or 4 posts on there every week, so that I'm keeping visible. I'm kind of bringing new people in. They're going to be the types of posts. So the types of posts that really work well on social media when it comes to audience growth are things that are shareable, because obviously when someone shares your content, it's reaching new people. So the type of content that's shareable tends to be the type of content that evokes some sort of emotion. It could be really funny content. How many times have you shared some, silly meme that's made you laugh, and that it's going to make your friends laugh? So it could be that type of kind of funny, entertaining content, because we love to share that stuff. Or it could be something that just feels really relatable. It could inspire someone. It could make someone angry. It could be a rant, you know, that someone, you know, is kind of riles people up. Anything that where we kind of feel something, we're more likely to take action. We're more likely to share that content. So have a think about that. Other type of content that works really well is this type of content, the kind of how-to stuff, because again, well, it might get shared, but also it's the type of content that your ideal clients are searching for. So when you can create that kind of content, that also works really well. So those are my 3 tips for audience growth. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to help. Equally, if you are not yet already in my Facebook group, Fully Booked Mums, do come and join us there. We have more kind of weekly in-depth workshops in there as well on all sorts of topics: audience growth, lead generation, sales, all sorts of things. So come and join us there. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see you again soon. Take care.